My name's Steve Ash. I'm the founder of Property Strats, and you're tuning into another episode of My Next Property. I'm an ex-Goldman Sachs vice president, and I've managed to build an $18 million property portfolio. I'm here with Tom Clark. How's it going, Tom?
Good, mate. Great to be here again. Thanks for having me.
No, really excited. And I know you're so excited to go through this episode because we're going to deconstruct Perth.
Yeah. Well, last time we were up here, we were having a beer at the bowling club down the road, and we're on to Melbourne, we're on to all the different markets and what they're doing. We got on to Perth and we spoke about the different drivers in that market and Mandurah and, Clarkson up north I'm going to talk a little bit about today. And we thought, well, let's give our listeners some more detail on those markets. I think there's some massive opportunities in Perth still.
Absolutely. And we're doing another Hotspots episode today. So the two suburbs, I should say, that we're going to cover.
Mandurah and Clarkson.
Mandurah and Clarkson. Perth's a really interesting place. I'd like to get your views on Perth because obviously I did a podcast where I was, talking that Perth's probably more towards the end of the market.
I've turned you around on that one.
You're turning me around. Tell me why then.
If you look at all the data still point to strong growth. But if you just take a step back, and as I've always said on previous podcasts, I always look at not necessarily population growth, I look at economic development, right? And if there's a lot of economic development, you got good economic diversity, then population growth is just a byproduct of that. It's going to happen, right? And, there's a lot of commentary around the reliance on mining in the Perth market. And it's still a massive contributor. Yeah. I think it's 44% of the gross state product comes from mining, but that's starting to change, and there's a shift away from that to more renewable type energy plays, and that diversification continues to happen, and that makes the whole play a lot more viable and a lot safer than what maybe it was 10, 15 years ago. So,
any other industries?
Mate, there are heaps of emerging industries in renewable energies. I mean, I looked at some stats. There's $104 billion that is going to be spent on renewable energy projects. I think there's 18 projects that the local government's identified where they've allocated land, and there's $104 billion worth of investment going to go into that to drive renewable energy to get the global economy to a net zero basis. And WA economy is a big part of that, right? So, you go into the data of this stuff, the market, the economy's going nuts, and it will continue to do that.
And you've spent a bit of time on the ground there, haven't you?
Mate, I have. Every time I buy, I make sure I'm in that market and experiencing it and just understanding what it's doing. And whenever I've got investments there, either myself personally or I have client investments in there, I'm always making sure every quarter I'm in those markets, just seeing what's going on the ground. And it's, there's activity happening everywhere. So, and, even beyond the mining, right, in terms of sustainability of jobs growth and wages growth. There's other industries that no one ever talks about that is massive in WA. Like the tourism sector is $20 billion annually. And that's exploding. Between 2021 to now, the inbound travellers from overseas, it's record levels. And that's driving jobs, it's driving activity on the ground, retail activity. And that's creating a prosperous economy, and more people are wanting houses and willing to pay more for it. So there's other activities and other drivers of that economy beyond mining. It's a big point I wanted to make today.
That's a good point. And the population growth drivers, what are you seeing?
It continues to be the largest driver of net migration, internal Australian net migration, and also immigration from overseas. I mean, Europe's a huge part of that, particularly from the UK, but population growth is continuing to occur, but that's occurring because
isn't it the number one at the moment? What was the number?
Number one, I think last 2024 calendar-wise, it was just under 3%, around 3%.
About 2.6, I think it was. I saw about that sort of mark. And I think that was number one. Melbourne's number two.
It is, absolutely.
So still a lot of interstate migration going across to Perth, which is good.
With what's going on there. So, and $40 billion worth of investment over the next 4 years on infrastructure projects. So you look at the $104 billion that they're ploughing into movement away from mining or iron ore into renewables. Then you got your $40 billion worth of infrastructure investment. You got your tourism industries. You got your primary industries, agriculture, aquaculture. That's $10 billion. You've got all sorts of other entertainment industries, filming industries that are starting to grow. And the big one is the AUKUS deal down south.
The AUKUS deal, and that's Rockingham Way, isn't it?
Rockingham Way, Green Island, and that's where I want to talk about more of the Mandurah stuff, because that AUKUS deal is also going to create a huge amount of jobs, and people that are going to be working on those submarines are going to want to live in not just Rockingham, they're going to want to live in Mandurah.
Yeah.
Right? So that's going to be a huge driver for that particular area of Perth.
So before we go into the two suburbs, and we're going to have one suburb at 600,000, one at 800,000.
Yep.
I'm going to put none of us have a crystal ball, but the outlook over the next 5 years looking pretty good from your point of view. What do you sort of forecast seeing in capital growth? I know it's a tough one to answer, but what do you think?
Crystal ball stuff. Look, last year to date, the last 12 months, Mandurah has done just over 15%. Right. Overall, Perth for the next 5 to 10 years, I think it will deliver sustainable, ongoing capital growth. Now, yes, the growth rates will start to subside over time, but it will continue to drive north. It will continue to go up across Perth. Right.
So you think this might be a little bit different to the boom and bust back?
Absolutely.
We saw.
It's a very sustainable market. So some regional markets that I'm in, I'm driving the cycles and making sure I'm very careful about the exit. Right.
Yeah.
But when I look for sustainable markets, typically I would have always looked at the Brisbanes and the Sydneys and the Melbournes. I am looking at Perth as sustainable markets for my long-term property holds.
Cool.
Okay. And that's very, very different to what it was maybe 10, 15 years ago. And that includes Mandurah, and that includes the other suburb we'll talk about up north in the Joondalup area, which is Clarkson.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, let's get into it. First one.
Get into Mandurah.
Mandurah. There we go.
So it's good to set that scene.
Yeah.
Okay?
No. It's very important. So Mandurah, what are we seeing at the moment?
Mate, good growth happening on the ground.
Yeah.
There was a bit of a plateau earlier in the year. Generally happened in the lower price points. But we're seeing the lower price points really starting to hit a second wind now, and a lot of activity starting to occur. There was an article in Little Hinges recently which tracks
Little Hinges. It
tracks property searches, and Perth as a whole, in terms of searches for houses outside the state, Perth topped the percentage, which was 33% of searches were done for Perth. The searches outside the Perth market. The next closest was, and a lot of that was Mandurah, right?
Okay, yeah.
And the next closest was Brisbane at 22%, right? So you can see the activity for searches for investment properties in Perth is higher than any other state. But also if you break that down to Mandurah in terms of searches for property investments in Mandurah, it's a really high proportion of overall searches within that state too. So that points to ongoing demand. You look at statistically, days on market are starting to come down a little bit again now. And the vacancy rates, a balanced market vacancy-wise is around 3%, Mandurah is around 2%, which is good. So all the statistics are pointing to a great future ahead over the next sort of 12 to 24 months for Mandurah.
No, exciting. So Mandurah's a big area. Are there any sort of suburbs where you think,
Oh, look, there's a few there. I like Greenfields. I've got plenty of properties in and around that area. But it's just a matter of weighing up the opportunity at the time. But there's plenty of suburbs within Mandurah that we like and that we're buying in actively at the moment and that I'm still actively buying in. So good opportunities across the board there. But look, I think fundamentally, right, lifestyle.
Yeah.
Right, lifestyle. Like it's an hour from the CBD, right?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. So how far from Perth are we looking at Mandurah?
About an hour drive. Hour's drive. I think and the infrastructure-wise is phenomenal. You've got direct rail links from Mandurah straight to the Perth CBD. That's around 50 minutes.
Yep.
Right, so the infrastructure's there. It's called a satellite. It's classed as a satellite city, right? So particularly similar to, say, a Newcastle is to Sydney or a Bendigo or Ballarat is to Melbourne. This is similar to that. And you look at all of the growth metrics towards, livability metrics and, people wanting that work-life balance. There's a big trend towards those satellite cities nationally across Australia, and Mandurah is one of those. So.
What's roughly the rental return at the moment? What sort of properties are we buying in Mandurah that you think is valued? It's just a kind of rough.
Mate, I bought a 3x1 800 square metre block. For 600,000 recently.
Okay.
So that's the sort of price points you're buying in.
Yeah.
You probably would have picked that up for mid to late fours a couple of years ago. So there's been some great growth, but it's definitely changing the prices, but more to go.
And what rents are you getting on that one?
Oh, the yields on that's just under 5%. So
about 600 a week.
Yeah, around that, yeah.
And we're still seeing that big rental growth?
Yeah, you are. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And as I said, the vacancy rates are tight, so that's going to put a floor or, it's going to put more pressure on those sort of things moving forward. And population growth continues to expand in Mandurah.
Yeah.
People wanting that livability type lifestyle. And it is great. Like some of the best beaches in the world are in Mandurah. You've got these beautiful sort of canals where these houses that, you can get.
That's Dudley Park, isn't it? I think with the canals, that sort of area.
Yeah, it is. And some of these houses on these canals, they're $5, $6, $7 million.
Are they really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Okay.
Got the beautiful marina there. I've cracked a few beers there myself over the years. It's a fantastic area. In fact, we should go there and crack a few ourselves when we're down there next.
Yeah. It takes about 6 hours to fly there, doesn't it?
Get off those teas, mate. Get off those teas, you're lightweight.
Yeah.
But, mate, and look, and it's got the biggest shopping complex in WA. I think it's called the Forum. It's absolutely massive. So infrastructure-wise, it's all there. Restaurant, the whole scene there is for the restaurants and pubs and those sort of things. It's got everything you need, and it's only hop, skip and a jump away from the Perth CBD. And with that AUKUS deal happening, 10,000 jobs they're looking to create there.
10,000 jobs
on Green Island, and literally directly from Mandurah to Green Island's about a 40-minute drive. So that Mandurah area will benefit from that if Trump doesn't have another conniption and potentially shut the thing down.
No one can control that for sure.
Absolutely.
So nice beaches. So that's Mandurah. Sounds good to me. That's
South Perth, right? So it's south of Rockingham. I know a lot of our listeners probably would have bought properties in Rockingham. That was the big thing back in the 2020, 2021, 22 period.
Yeah.
This is just further south of Rockingham.
And sort of like, do you think that obviously the owner-occupier rate, that's around it's about 48%, isn't it?
Just under 50%, yeah.
Do you see that as a concern at all?
No, I don't. That's trending more and more towards owner-occupiers as more people want to work from home.
Yeah.
More people want that lifestyle aspect. It's more affordable than what it is in the Perth metropolitan area. And as those price points lift up in sort of the inner ring suburbs, it'll put more pressure in those lower ones again, and they'll start to really increase over time, like potentially at even higher rate than they are now. So
I suppose quite simply, it's we're quite close to a major CBD or capital here.
Absolutely.
Got some of the world's best beaches in this particular area. It's
highly
cheap.
diversified economy.
Yeah, highly
economic growth, amazing.
Absolutely.
Jobs.
Population
wage growth is happening, and net migration continues to increase. So everything I look at with Perth, I love. And I know there's a lot of commentary about Perth being done. Yeah. But, I counter that, and I think, there's other great opportunities. Melbourne's a great opportunity. Victoria generally is great. Yeah. But I still see Perth as a genuine option for all of our customers. And I'm actively talking about that with every customer.
Cool. Yeah. Brilliant.
So pumped about Perth.
So it's okay. So that's our $600,000 suburbs. Let's move on to an $800,000 suburb, Hotspot in Perth. You gave the identity, but where is it?
Mate, it's up north. It's called Clarkson. So it's in the Joondalup area. So it is a cracking part of Perth. Been there plenty of times. I have 4 or 5 properties in that Joondalup area myself, which I bought over the 2021, 2022 period. Yep. You'd have done I went really hard in that area. That typically it's a little bit higher of a price point than the Armadales were and the Rockinghams and the Mandurahs were. Yeah. And it was a little bit later to the party in terms of capital growth. So those really lower end suburbs at that time in the 2021s that were around sort of the early 3s, late 2s, these suburbs were a lot more of a premium. Based on those price points. So they're a little bit more expensive. So the average house price in Clarkson's just under 800, where the average house price in Mandurah is just over 600, right? So there's a bit of a jump. Yeah. But the lifestyle there, much higher owner-occupier percentages. And look, at the end of the day, I still get back to it. I can buy a house in a major metropolitan location that has fundamentally amazing economic profiles that are going to continue to create jobs. I can buy a house, right, for less than $800,000 within 5-minute drive to one of the best beaches in the world. Okay. Case closed. Yeah, Case closed.
And how much would that rent for?
Mate, it's about a 5% yield.
5% yield.
Yeah, so the yields are okay.
Pretty decent rent, so it's $750 to $800 a week. Is that what we're getting in Clarkson?
About that, yeah, absolutely.
What's the vacancy rate like?
Mate, strap yourself in here, big fella.
Yeah, okay.
0.6%.
0.6. So basically there's nothing for rent. Yeah.
Absolutely. I haven't seen a 0.6 for anywhere we're buying at the moment.
Well, it's hardly like, best, Brizzy's quite tight, but this is kind of like the big play in Perth that I sort of see. Like we know about Mandurah, we just covered that. Yep. But in the northern suburbs with higher sort of owner-occupier rates, vacancy is a lot tighter. So that we should see rental growth in these areas as well. Absolutely. So to your point about 5% yield, and I think this is an important point. Yeah. If you're picking up an asset and it's around that 750 to 800 mark and you're getting that type of rent, there's still potentially more room for rent to grow. So that kind of in 2 years, if you fast forward, that might be a 6.5% yield anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And mate, you annoyed me before this podcast.
Did I? What did I do?
Yeah. Talking about bloody building approvals.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. No,
what are you about bloody building approvals for?
I think this is an important point because some people...
Building approvals are going up, you said.
Yes, some people will look at this and grant, supply coming to the area and say, what's your riposte to this? You're obviously passionate about this subject.
Mate, who cares about building approvals? It's houses. They're not just going to sprout from nowhere. Yeah. And you can get building approvals all day long, but it's a different thing building the bloody things and getting them up and running, getting people in them, right?
And it hasn't been a good track record in Aussie, has there, recently?
Perth's probably the worst out of all the states in terms of how they're tracking. So I think their target's around to maintain supply based on population growth, they need to be pushing out 30,000 homes annually.
Yeah.
2024, guess what the number was?
No, you go for
less than 20,000.
20,000. Okay.
Right. So you think about all of those things that I spoke about: economic development, jobs growth, wages growth, migration increasing.
Yeah.
And that's just going to compound. So last year was 10,000. Even if this year they got to 25,000 buildings underway or completed, then that 5,000 is still on top of the 10,000. And so it just keeps compounding it and it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And that's where I think, I'm telling you, next 5 to 10 years, Perth, I think it's just going to keep growing.
Okay. No, it's interesting. So give me an example of a deal then, like in Clarkson that you see.
I did some good deals in Clarkson in the late 400s.
When was that?
Right, 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Yep.
So my deals are valuing around the 750s now. To 800s.
Wow.
So the
good
growth,
money made.
The growth profile has been really, really good. And I think, the sustainability of those areas in terms of ongoing growth, I think is even probably a little bit higher than the southern area of Perth, the Mandurahs and the Rockinghams. I think there's a lot more to go in the northern part. And just because the lifestyle's there and it's just a little bit higher socioeconomic, and I just think the owner-occupier percentages are always going to be higher up there than what they are. They perhaps will be down south. So, and the beaches up there are absolutely amazing.
So picking up a deal, 750 to 800, still got a lot of, still very bullish on that.
I think there'll be $1 million suburbs in the next few years.
Okay, no, absolutely cracking. So anything else about Clarkson we want to add here at all?
Mate, I think we're done. I mean, Butler's and I bought plenty in Butler, and that oval area I really do like. That corridor and good infrastructure, obviously transport nodes directly into the CBD. Yeah. So, and 35 kilometres, I think, from
I've got
Clarkson
one in Queen's Rock, which is obviously quite close by to those two. Got that one at 587.
What's it valued at now?
900, I think.
Better than me.
Yeah. Well, there you go. There you go. Every now and again, I have one that's good. It was a 4-bed, 2-bathroom with a swimming pool.
Really?
So the swimming pool's caused a bit of grief. Well, yeah, I generally do. They are like 2,000, 3,000 in sort of costs for us a year. But the rent on that one is now $750 a week.
Wow.
So pretty cool.
Yeah, let's keep going.
There you go.
Right.
So here we go. So if I just summarize this in this hot spotting episode. Yep. So we've looked on Perth. We think second wind market, a lot more to come from Perth.
Yep.
There's 2 suburbs we covered, Mandurah for 600,000. The AUKUS deal coming there, lots of economic diversity, still good deals to be had there. And second one, Clarkson, we just covered now, 800,000. So good yield still, higher owner-occupier rates, lots going on in that particular area near one of the world's best beaches.
Exactly.
So anything else before we wrap up? Because this has been awesome.
Well. Perfect.
Yeah. And there we go. So Perth, so if you want to talk to us about Perth, we're happy to sort of divulge that. But this is an episode I've been wanting to make for quite a long time. Yeah. You've kind of you're making me rethink my sort of decision making.
Well, we're going to get back to Brisbane too soon, yeah?
No, Brisbane and the Olympics. So no.
I reckon there's some good growth there still to be had. So it's just a matter of making sure you're balancing these out, right? And so you've got good sustainable markets like the Brisbanes and the Perths and the Melbournes, and then you can still ride those short-term cycles in perhaps some of the regional areas to get that really expedited growth, but it's making sure you've got that balance. Yeah, there's always markets within markets. That's what our portfolio construction strategies entail, right? So we can really help our It is important. With that. Diversity across states, and we're happy to cover a few more. Absolutely. A few more suburbs in Perth. At a later time, we can go closer to the city because I do think there's some value there. But for this episode, thank you, Tom. Thanks, mate. Awesome episode. Really enjoyed it. Cheers. Thanks.